Today I will be presenting the best method to get your leopard gecko to trust you. All leopard geckos are different, so this particular method may not work as well as others, but this is the most common and effective amongst most leopard geckos. I mean, it worked for Petrie, clearly. I will also be stating some helpful tools of how to avoid giving your leopard gecko stress, since it can cause them physical harm. An example being their tail falling off, which it grows back, but only once, and it's still not healthy for the gecko either way, and extreme distress. These animals are very sensitive, so this process will be long, but very well worth it. You will need a leopard gecko, a terrarium, live food, make sure it's live. The beginning stages of trust is to put your hand into the tank. This shows them that you are not a threat and you're only there to help them and to feed them. Doing this about 5 minutes a day will help you and help the gecko learn to trust you. Putting your hand in the tank. When the gecko is out. Littlefoot is not out right now. He's somewhere, but he's not out. So putting my hand in the tank would be useless since he can't see it. But he will be able to hear the tank opening and closing. Another thing you should do is fill their calcium bowl, which Petrie over here doesn't have a calcium bowl. I will be adding one soon. Littlefoot does, which is over here. It's where he gets his worms. So if you were to fill the calcium bowl or the water bowls and show them and make sure they're watching while you do it, then they will understand that you're the person that is taking care of them. So there's not much water in here, so I'm gonna go fill this up. You want to make sure all water that you give your geckos is either special gecko water that you can buy at any pet store basically, or filtered water, since some of the stuff that you can get from sink water is harmful to the geckos. I do have a water bottle here that I have with filtered water that I use to mist the tanks, which is also good to let them watch you do, that I would fill with Petrie's bowl, but I went and filled this one already. So he sees that I'm the one providing him water, so he'll understand that he could trust me. See? Look at him watching. That's how he realized. The next point is to build routines. This means feeding at specific times, playing with them at specific times, changing their light from day to red or black light, depending on what you do, at a specific time, which is very helpful since these animals are crepuscular, meaning that they're active from dusk till dawn, or dawn to dusk. They're active at night. So if you feed them before bedtime, then they should be able to do their business at night without you having to watch them, which it's not a problem, but to feed them before bed, you can also... Okay, Petrie. You can also turn off their light right after you're done feeding them, which is a very good routine to have. I handle Petrie at specific times, which I'm sort of breaking that right now, so he's a tiny bit stressed, which I might put him back if he shows signs of stress. But these animals are best with routines, and they work around routines. If I change up his routine with eating, then he'll be messed up, so he'll stare at me while I'm in bed, which is also a good sign of trust. Since he knows I'm the one that provides him with food, he'll stare at me to let me know that I need to feed him. He also at one point would scream at me, yes, geckos scream, when he would want food. So it's nice to know the routine that you can set for them, but also their routine. The next step is to get personal with your gecko, which means you should handle them often so they understand it's you and they can trust you if you're not going to hurt them. Another thing to do when getting personal is to hand feed them food and handle them often. So here, by hand feeding food, they see that I'm the one supplying them with food and they should trust me. It's like the same with water. This worked with with Petrie when I first got him, Not so much Littlefoot. As I suspected, Littlefoot did not take the food, which is completely fine and ordinary. He's still learning, and he's more troubled gecko than Petrie, which is completely fine. You just have to accommodate yourself to your gecko. So this is what it means to handle a gecko. When you first start, you want to start on the ground or low to the ground, or just in general, you want to be on a flat surface like a bed. But once you learn how your gecko moves, because some are fast, some just like a chill, like Petrie, this will. Some don't like to be handled, like Littlefoot, but Petrie's fine. So just learning to hold them and let them know that they're okay and that they can trust you, it's important. The next step is to learn about your gecko. You need to know, obviously, general information about leopard geckos before getting one. For example, to get a rug or a mat or dirt substrate instead of sand, since if they swallow the sand, it can get stuck in their throat or it can cause it problems with their stomach, and it can make them kill over, in a sense. You should also understand the signs of a happy gecko. It could be from your gecko personally or just information you found on the internet. With Petrie, I know he's happy when he's wandering around his terrarium and exploring and crawling and not glass surfing. Glass surfing is a sign of stress, actually. Glass surfing is when they quite literally put their little claws up and they move around. I will insert a video of when I first got Petrie, and he was glass surfing all over because he was stressed. It's a new environment. He's going to be scared. And to also know the gecko's personal routine. This isn't very important, but it's good to know, since you can know, like, hey, I wake up and every day he's in this specific spot, and if he's not in that spot, maybe something is wrong. So you can see the beginning stages of a problem, if there is one. To also know how they eat, with an example, Petrie is a very, very bad hunter, and if I have a cricket in front of his face, he will miss. Like, it'll be this close to his face, and he'll completely miss my finger. So he's a little bit of a bad hunter, but with Littlefoot, he actually, I tried to hand feed him for the beginning stages of having him, but he was not having it. He's very self-independent, and he will not take the food unless it's in a bowl or if it's in front of him and not in my hand, which is fine. He's an anxiety-ridden gecko, and there's not much I can do about it. Geckos poop in a certain spot of their terrarium until, like, if you move things around, like their hides and whatever, they will change where they poop. But he poops in the back corner, and Littlefoot poops in the opposite back corner. Typically, it's in a corner, so you can set up paper towels, and since you know where they poop, they just poop on a paper towel, and you take a paper towel, and it's easier to clean the poop. But it's also to know, like, if your gecko poops in a different spot, again, it'll be a sign of an upcoming problem. It's possible. It doesn't mean that there's a problem, but it would be a good explanation if your gecko doesn't eat or drink at all. You can also pay attention to where the gecko goes and when. It's not a necessity, but it's also good to know, again, if there is a problem. But also to know the personal boundaries of your gecko. With Petrie here, I can pet him, and he will not get stressed. He moves because, don't really pet leopard geckos. But he won't get stressed. He'll just chill most of the time. He's just very active right now. But if I go to touch Littlefoot, he will scream at me and he'll try to bite me. He's not a good gecko to handle. And when I did try to handle him, he pooped all over me, all over my desk. It was a mess. And if you didn't know, fun fact, leopard geckos pee when they poop. And it's not a fun experience to clean up, especially when it's all over your laptop. But I digress. The next step is to avoid stressful situations as much as possible. You should clean the tank once a week, which cleaning the tank and reorganizing it is not the best for the gecko. You can reorganize it once a month, or once a few months actually, because they hate it when you reorganize things, because they get so used to something and then you change it, they're not going to understand what's going on, and it's going to be a stressful situation for them. So you clean the tank once a week and do it quickly and at the same time that you do. Like Saturdays at 10 p.m. is when usually I clean the tank of the poop and whatever. So they're gonna know, like, okay, it's at this time every week. I know to hide in a certain place, which is helpful for them. If they're shedding, they will turn a milky white. It's very interesting to watch them shed, but do not interact with them since they're in a very hostile and like vulnerable state when shedding. So they will try to bite you, and it will not be a good experience for either of you. Also, this is optional as well, but Petrie hates it when I mist the tank. I have a little spray bottle back there to use to mist the tank occasionally. I only do it when he's hiding because if he gets sprayed with it, he gets all mad and he starts screaming, which that's just him, but some geckos like being misted with the spray bottle, he just doesn't. So personally, I only mist it when he's hiding or I can't see him. He's not in line of sight, and I'll just in conclusion, as stated in the beginning of the video, this process will take a good amount of months, if not years, for your leopard gecko to fully trust you. I've had Littlefoot for over a year and he still struggles with being scared of me, but through these steps that I've taken, he's slowly gotten used to me, not all the way, but I'm still working on it and using these steps to help me. Your gecko's health is important, but its trust in its human friends is very important. If your leopard gecko doesn't end up trusting you in the slightest, it can lead to health issues, which is not good, since they will try to not eat if they're not trusting of you, and they're like, where did this food come from? I'm not comfortable. So they're sort of like humans in a little funny way. So these steps are vital to try. Do you have any closing words, Petrie? I don't think he's very fond of any of you. Yeah, he's turning the other way. Oh. And you'll come to learn that these geckos actually have personalities of their own. An example being Petrie is dumb. I'm just gonna end with that.